I must say at the outset, I feel really unworthy to be standing on this podium. If I do stand here, I would like it to represent not just me or my work, but indeed a representation of many, many women of my generation who stand on a platform built by the women of the previous generation. I lost my mother a year ago, and she was the quintessential woman to deal with challenges. She was one of 7 sisters and 1 brother in hard times, and she and her younger sister, my Meena Maushi, worked and supported each other while the others studied. My mother could never get a graduate degree because there was no time and no money. She did a diploma in occupational therapy, and she has touched the lives of millions. And then she took a 7-year break from her career so that she could have and raise children, filling our lives with color and joy, and introducing me to the wonderful work of Sai Paranjape. Since I was a child, I've been imprinted with these ideas. She was the one who struggled in a job that didn't have glamour. She wasn't a doctor. In fact, she worked under many, many doctors, some of whom were generous in spirit and thought and action to support her. It's people like this who built the platform upon which people like me could stand and reach higher. Science is a luxury. It's a luxury I'm privileged to have. And I study one of the most fascinating structures possible in biology, the brain. It's the source of our imagination. It's the source of our dreams. Why should we not then reach for the stars? And science is an unusual profession for women. It's a profession in which there are 2 phases. One, extremely hard, extremely difficult. One in which people describe as a leaky pipeline, women falling out of the science stream. And the second phase, which I perceive as a sort of low-level glass ceiling. Once you break that, science is a wonderful profession for women. It's the ultimate flexi-hour job. It's a place where you get the respect you deserve. It's a place where it doesn't matter whether the woman or the man is working, because after all, the truth, science is above us all. That transition happens about the time you become a faculty member. You do a PhD, then you do a postdoc, and at somewhat a late stage compared to other professions, so about 30, 32, maybe even a little more, that's when you actually get your first independent job. That's a late stage, but I perceive that to be a low-level glass ceiling, because once you're a faculty member, you train students. You are no longer tied to doing the experiments in that micro detail yourself, because you've achieved the experience to train others. And then you can guide their projects from anywhere. Being an individual of my generation, no matter where I am in the world, I am on email and WhatsApp with my students. Yes, all the students in the beyond watching me, yes, we're cool enough to do WhatsApp, we scientists. No matter where we are, we can input on the students' progress. So it can be said that it's never been felt that a student lacks input, no matter where their advisor is. And indeed, we can be on maternity leave and we can be at home. And when the child wakes us up at night for the nightly feed, more on that later, feeding. But when the child wakes us up, we can get onto email and discuss science with our collaborators overseas in a different time zone. We can actually take advantage of different time zones and ultimate flexi hours, because finally, there is nobody telling us what we have to do. We push ourselves because we want to find beauty in nature, we want to explore the truth, and we work as hard as we want to. And indeed, when we have children, we can have lab meetings at home. I used to call my lab members home to discuss their science when I was on maternity leave. We started maybe 2 weeks after my first child was born. I may have scandalized some of them, but I hope I planted some thoughts. I used to sit in a sort of parda-filled gown, and I used to breastfeed during lab meetings. Yes, I realize I've shocked people, but I did more. Most women who have children sort of go out of the loop, and we regard as very progressive organizations that have long maternity leaves, and indeed they are. But if you're on maternity leave, all of those guys out there haven't taken leave, right? Science is still moving on, and your competitors are still doing what they're doing. How do you work your way around it? At some point, I got called for some discussions, some interviews where my presence as a scientist was required. And I didn't want to play the, oh, I'm a woman who's just had a baby and therefore I can't come business. And yet I'd had a baby. It was the 26th day after I'd had Abhay.